Hi to you all. I hope you're doing well. In the news these last few weeks, and certainly in the news that I follow the most, which is the news in South Africa and news articles in the United States, there has been a lot of shooting, a lot of gun violence, and a lot of violence in general. Now, of course, we've always had this, but perhaps it's increasing. And it's happening more frequently. And one of the reasons this might be happening is because of the increased stresses and worries and the increased uncertainty in the world we live in, which is, if you're battling to contain your emotions, is just going to make it so much more difficult for you to do so. I want to talk in this video about anger. For your average normal person, and normal is a term I can't stand, okay, because what is normal? But let's take a reasonably psychologically healthy person. Anger is a legitimate emotion. Anger is a sign that something is wrong. Your boundaries are being stepped all over, your rights are being violated, you're not being respected. So anger is a normal, legitimate emotion. Unfortunately, a lot of us never grow up knowing how to deal with it. We don't have good role models, and nobody shows us what to do and how to deal with our anger in a constructive manner. Anger can escalate and escalate until it results in some very violent acts that result in a lot of damage for a lot of people. Now, okay, I said anger is fairly normal. Normal human beings get angry. There are some people who get angry and it's not quite a legitimate emotion. People who have delusions of grandeur, people who have paranoid delusions, and often those people are the same ones. People who are quite narcissistic, feel very entitled, feel very self-righteous, feel that the law should do whatever they wanted to do, or feel like the law doesn't apply to them, are people who may be angry when they don't have a legitimate reason to be angry. They're just angry because they think they're entitled to whatever it is that they want. So that is not legitimate anger. So not all anger is legitimate, but normal human beings do have anger, and very often there's a very good reason for it. Now, anger is an emotion, and it needs to be dealt with like all emotions. You want to recognize it when you feel it. You want to feel it. You want to express it in an appropriate way, and expressing in an appropriate way means I express it without doing any harm to any form of life or to property. And then you're going to ask yourself, what is this emotion telling me? Emotions are messengers for us. They are giving us a message. Something is not working. Something is not right. So pay attention, because it will be a guideline to help you fix what perhaps might be wrong, or where your life might be a little bit off track. If you want to master life, you need to master your emotions. Now, there are lots of anger management techniques, and unlike most of my videos, I am not going to give you a whole lot of tips in this. I mean, a lot of the anger management techniques that people use are literally getting rid of the built-up adrenaline and cortisol, creating the fight and flight response. So they'll go and punch a punch bag, they'll do a boxing class, they'll go and run like mad, they'll go and do a heavy gym class, and that does help to get some of the frustrations out. And in some instances, depending on who you are and how else you approach life and your level of psychological health, that can actually work quite well. My general view, though, is if you have an anger problem that is not mild, get help. And I mean professional help. Even if it's just a couple of sessions for you to sit there and learn with a therapist how to express your anger appropriately, how to recognize it, because a lot of us don't know how to do this, how to feel it, how to express it, and how to let it go. If your anger is really bad, you'll obviously need a lot more assistance. And I mean, if you have rage, you most definitely need to see a professional person in order to deal with your anger. Okay, rage is shame-based anger. Guilt means we've done something wrong. Shame is when we are made to feel we are wrong. As a human being, we are wrong, we are not worthy, we are not deserving of anything good in life. So shame-based rage usually comes where people have experienced that either in childhood or maybe later on in their life. It needs a lot of professional help. Don't try and do it on your own. You need another person there as well with you as part of the therapy. Now, sometimes with anger management, people are given medication, and I've had clients on medication. I don't believe medication will help with anger, particularly serious anger and violence on its own. Anger affects relationships, your work relationships, personal relationships, familial relationships, social relationships. And you need to learn how to deal with what's happened in the past, and you need to learn to deal with relationships in the present and in the future. And medication's not going to do that. So medication is sometimes given. It's actually given quite a lot, given that medication is used extensively. But don't use it only on its own. You need therapy with it as well. Now, anger management, it's very important to deal with anger, and you may not think so. You may think, oh, this is happening all outside me, it's not impacting me. Anger, we tend to forget, causes devastation. Anger, if you have a lot of rage or violent anger, you can end up messing up other people's lives extensively, and possibly even your own life. And I want to give you an example. A company sent a man to come and see me for anger management. This man had broken a whole lot of office furniture. He had become violent, gone into a rage, and broken a whole lot of office furniture. So we had quite a lot of sessions, and certainly he made a lot of progress, and actually he was also on some medication. And he really tried hard, and he really worked hard at it, and things were going quite well. And then after some months, he said, you know, there's a position that's come up at work, and I am exactly right. I have the skills, I have the knowledge, I am exactly right for this position. I want to apply for it. So he did everything. He did everything right in terms of applying for the job. He was right for the job. And yeah, he even knew who the other candidates were, and there's no question he was better suited. Now, when you are in a rage, when you are losing it, you tend not to focus on the people around you or the witnesses or everybody else who's sitting there watching this. Either if you're in a rage, you've completely lost it and you're not even thinking, or else you might be thinking, gee, I'm so strong and powerful and in charge. The people around you who are watching you, who are looking at this, are terrified, absolutely terrified. Even if you haven't actually physically attacked them, there's nothing to say that you might not do so. Our brain is wired for survival. The number one thing in our brain is we must survive. When anything comes along that possibly threatens our survival and we start thinking, oh, flip, maybe this is not okay. Oh, no, my life could be in danger and whatever. The situation is embedded in our brain. It is very deeply entrenched in the brain, and we never forget it. And it doesn't go either. Fear is extremely difficult to eradicate. The brain is wired for it, once again, because it's set up to keep us alive. Now, back to the gent. So he applied for the job. He went through the process. A couple of weeks later, I asked him, so how did it go? And he said to me, I didn't get the job. And he said to me, you know what? I'm going to have to leave and go somewhere where nobody knows who I am if I am going to get promoted. Because no matter how much they even acknowledge I've improved and grown and I've seemed to have my anger under control, they will never forget what happened. And so I am never going to get a position there. So please, if you have an anger issue, go and get it dealt with now, before it escalates into something massive. Like anything, the earlier you catch it, the easier it is to treat and deal with it. But go and do it now before you're sitting there facing a whole lot of mess in your life. From my side, have a good week.